Welcome to podcast number 348. We're going to continue our reading of the Tact production system. This will be part number 12, and we're going to begin it with our Tact history. Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Just so you know, I'm doing some interviews on the backside, and those will be published after we finish reading the book. Man, there are just so many wonderful podcast topics. The list just keeps getting longer and longer. This podcast is never going to end unless something happens to me. So I really hope you're enjoying the content. We've got a ton of people downloading and listening to the content on a daily basis. I want to say that I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And on we go. We're going to start reading this right now. So I'll begin with our Tact history. Takt time is taken from the German word Taktzeit, meaning cycle time. According to Colin Ducharme and Todd Ruddick, who teach Lean Six Sigma courses, the word was likely introduced to Japan by German engineers in the 1930s, which explains why Lean and Tact have an interwoven history. The actual word originates from the Latin word tactus, meaning touch, sense of touch, feeling. Some earlier meanings include beat triggered by regular contact, clock beat from the 16th century, beat indicating the rhythm pertaining to music, and also regular unit of note value from the 18th century. Tact is focused on the rhythm of sequences or geographical areas on the project site, sometimes known as location-based scheduling. European countries have successfully been using this type of scheduling for years. Early Tact plans have been found from Norway with shipbuilding. Also in Russia and Germany over a century ago with a very detailed and sometimes complex mathematical analysis. Tact planning has been called a variety of names over the years. One process flow scheduling, linear scheduling, SIPs, line of balance, or even flow production. It feels appropriate to call it by the name of Tact because it has a good brand name throughout the industry currently and allows us all to rally behind the concept together. Tact planning can be seen in the construction of the Empire State Building and more recently in the United States Pentagon renovation constructed by Hensel Phelps in 2002. Despite both of these projects being wildly successful, CPM continues to be the dominant scheduling system in the United States. The argument for CPM is typically the favoring of data and data mining. However, visual schedules and uniting the workforce around a common plan should be more important. Additionally, Tact is not only rich with data, it is also the only scheduling system based on mathematical production equations and production laws. Here is a preview of our journey with Tact. 2006. Hearing about the Pentagon renovation, Tact planning was used in the Pentagon renovation by Hensel Phelps and called a SIPs train. Jason first saw this in a scheduling presentation and was intrigued. 2007. Seeing the templates. Jason was able to see a template and learned about the SIPs rules that govern the system in the Pentagon. 2008. Scheduling Summit. As a young assistant superintendent, Jason attended a scheduling summit, learned about CPM, and was exposed to a brief lecture on SIPs. 2011. The Cancer Center. As a superintendent over the interiors of an $80 million cancer center, Jason implemented Tact planning and called it a block schedule. Results were amazing, and Jason developed his own rules and uses for the system. 2011. Cycle Time and Little's Law. At a small-scale earthwork company, Spencer left the field to pursue a college degree. While working through college, he was exposed to cycle time calculations and was introduced to Little's Law. Spencer continued managing cycle times in production at a mobile crane company. Continuing what he learned, he was starting his studies in CPM. 2015, the Research Laboratory. As a project superintendent, Jason again used Tact for the interiors, including prefabrication, flow, geographical control, just-in-time deliveries, and other lean support systems. He called it a one-process flow schedule and recorded the process on video and posted it to YouTube. 2015, commercial construction. Spencer left industrial construction and started in the commercial construction industry on his path on becoming a CPM expert. 2017, the pharmacy. Jason began using Tact planning for the entire project and expanded the system. 2017, the office building. Jason used Tact to perform a flow analysis for a complex exterior system for the first time with success. 2017, the religious temple. Spencer had become a certified CPM professional and started learning and applying lean and pulse systems here. He researched Tact trains on a complex temple project in Kensington, Maryland. 2019, the basis for all scheduling systems. We standardized this system with the scheduling department and across all projects as the main approach to project scheduling. We also trained 40 to 50 superintendents on Tact and how to start implementing this system on multiple projects. 2020, scaling Tact. Jason developed the integrated production control system and incorporated it with Tact. Jason also developed operations standards that could be scaled across the country to easily enable operational success when starting with Tact. 2020, Elevate Construction IST LLC. Jason began a coaching, consulting, and training business intended to elevate the industry. We wrote Elevating Construction Tact Planning and began consulting on Tact, online and on location. 2021, international research and collaboration. Jason and Spencer were introduced to Marco Vinegar and Janosch Dooley with Tacting. Janosch and Marco spent time weekly for a period of months to show Elevate Construction their research and allow us to experience the simulations. In addition to this, Felipe Engineer, Adam Hoots, Hal Maycomer, and many others provided feedback on this second edition of the book. 2021, Lean Tact LLC. Jason and Spencer started a company called Lean Tact LLC. This company focuses as a resource for the construction industry to be able to scale what we have seen and learned on how Tact and flow systems can and should be used as the major project management system to feed into the great lean systems that have been invented like the Last Planner system and Scrum. The story will continue from here into a future of awesome possibilities. Ultimately, Tact planning, as outlined in this book, is a modification of the system used at the Pentagon renovation, updated with the current German methodologies shown to us by Marco and Janosch. Tact philosophy. The river of waste versus flow trains. The river of waste is a good analogy and is useful, but our industry doesn't correctly understand it yet, or at least does not explain it correctly. The river of waste has been described as a lean analogy where a boat on a river is the flow unit. The rocks under the water are the roadblocks, and the water represents resources. The goal of the boat is to travel downriver. In our wasteful industry, especially in the United States, project teams raise the water level, which is equivalent to increasing worker counts, money, or costs, crews, and other resources to allow work to progress. The recommendation in the lean analogy is to actually lower the water level, expose the roadblocks, remove them, and move the boat downriver. The problem, at least in construction, is that teams lower the water level, meaning they reduce resources with the slash and burn approach of reducing budgets, shortening deadlines, and undercutting team sizes. All this amounts to is a more shallow river still going too fast with no time to see and remove roadblocks. The team has to increase the water levels ultimately anyway. The only problem with this is that the project was underbid because the team used the river of waste analogy to set up the project and now need resources to come out of contingency or fee. The industry's understanding of the river of waste is currently flawed and causing problems. Lowering the water level is not the solution. Rather, it's having the water level at the right height, going the right speed, and stabilizing the flow. We do not need to reduce resources. We need to stabilize them. Going back to the analogy, if the water level is right, going evenly and with a smooth surface, the team not only can see the roadblocks in the water, they will have time to remove them before their arrival. To summarize, we are not trying to needlessly reduce resources. Rather, we need resources planned at the right speed and quantity so that roadblocks can be removed in a timely fashion. Additionally, if this is the approach, the project team will bid the right amount of time and resources and actually have a chance to make a decent fee. It is the only way, and Tact does this. As it turns out, after the first edition of this book, Hal Makeover told us we had the analogy wrong. It should not be resources, but work in process. This we can actually agree with. When we limit work in process, we reduce long throughput times, restarts, and having too many flow units in the process, as Nicholas Modig outlines in his book, This is Lean. But we would prefer to think of limiting work in process as stabilizing and calming the water, because essentially that is what it does. So whether you look at limiting work in process as lowering the water level or stabilizing the speed and stability, we need to understand it is not the reduction of needed resources that brings roadblocks to the surface. It is going the right speed in a steady and stable manner so the team can see and have time to remove roadblocks before they affect the work. Many thanks to Hal for bringing this up. If it were not for him, we would not have known this amidst the current industry presentations that show the water level as resources. Because comparing the flow of construction to water and a river can be problematic, we'll use trains and railways to demonstrate the practice of reducing waste. Consider the following. Land surveying. When a railway is built, the path is determined by surveying the terrain and finding the path of least resistance. Therefore, determining takt time and throughput is like land surveying the railway before construction. Design. The overall design of the train track is like the printed takt plan. Clearing the path. It is important to fill in the valleys and excavate the hills before laying the track. Leveling the flow of work with trades by locking them into the takt time and plan is akin to clearing the path. Railroad ties. Railroad ties are the foundation of a train's flow. The ties are what create stability. This is analogous to the integrated production control system, creating lean contracts, winning over the workforce, implementing accountability systems, building the team, creating team coverage, implementing the team meeting cycle, and creating a clean, safe, and organized project is the foundation for a stable takt system. Rails. The rails on the track are what allow the train to move quickly. This is prefabrication. If you have the foundation, the system, the flow, and the team, having prefabrication assemblies from coordination to the largest extent possible is what makes takt, or the train in this analogy, go fast. Cowcatcher. Just like the cowcatcher removes debris from the track to clear the path, the cowcatcher on the project site is a fanatical roadblock removal system using roadblock maps. Front engine. The front engine is the pre-planning team that prepares the way and brings the work into the area on the right start date. Train cars or takt wagons. The wagons are the resources that carry the product forward. Work packages. Work packages are the scopes of work that the resources carry out. They are like the content in the wagons on the train. Takt wagon covers. Wagon covers keep any product from being left behind and symbolize the effort to finish as we go in a takt system. Speed of the train. The speed of the train is the takt time. Arrival sequence of trains to the station. The throughput of the system. Mountains. Mountains represent constraints. Roadblocks can be removed, and constraints are things the project needs to be built around. The example is pretty straightforward. A railway is intentionally made. A river is based on circumstances at the moment. If you think about it, most lean scheduling systems encourage reactionary planning at the moment, which is a lot like floating on a river you can't control. Conversely, creating a railroad, creating a system of control, is akin to takt, where we may make our own destiny and control the work. So don't build boats when you can build trains and railways. It should be noted that takt has nothing to do with the siloed leadership or old-time command and control systems. Takt is a collaborative system where we predict as much of what should take place in our future as possible and prepare for success instead of hoping for the best in the moment. On construction projects today, we need stability rather than the reduction of resources. Stability is created when we start tasks on time, build them right, and finish as we go. Just like a train must leave the station on time, drive at the right speed, not have any accidents, and arrive at the destination on time. This stability, these trains, and takt relies heavily on rhythm. There is a famous saying from the U.S. Navy SEALs, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. We would like to repurpose it as rhythm is smooth and smooth is fast. The point is that rushing takes longer than going at the right rate. The decision is not between going fast and finishing early versus going at the right rhythm and finishing later. The decision is between going fast and failing versus going at the right rhythm and finishing at the soonest possible moment. The decision is between going fast and finishing late versus going at the right rhythm and finishing on the earliest possible date. So, rhythm is key. It is the pace at which processes work or work is completed within the project. It represents the stagger between the start of Tact trains or sequences per the Tact time. Rhythm is a key consideration to the concept of flow, and that rhythm is determined by capacity. The rate at which we can complete buildings is determined by the capacity of resources in the local market and how many professional workers are available. It is determined by how many materials can be produced, how many trained workers are available, and how much money an owner will pay for the project. Each of these resources have a capacity. It is critical to understand that capacity and adjust the tact time, rhythm, and throughput time and incorporate it into the overall plan. There is little merit to just making a plan to fit the stipulated end date when there's no capacity to do it. We increase our capacity and capability on a project within resource constraints when we increase consistency. Consistency in lean and tact planning can be described as the leveling of materials, information distribution, crew counts, equipment needs, and other resource needs throughout the system and throughput time. This is a key component of flow because it enables consistent and standardized work to take place in a standard way without the overburdening of context switching, increased communication complexity, overproduction, and it puts things into a routine outside of the daily mental discipline to coordinate variation in the system. Consistency is also supported by continuity. Continuity is the flow of work within a sequence in an uninterrupted flow and without efficiency gaps. When work is done on a rhythm, consistently in the same way with stable crew sizes and inventory levels, week after week, day after day, or tact time after tact time, the team is able to fully support flow. Interruptions to continuity change the context of the project, interrupt the consistency of the work, and can increase the load on the project team. All four of these considerations are important for flow, rhythm, capacity, consistency, and continuity. They stabilize work and allow processes to flow through construction. They also answer the question, why does tact bring problems to the surface? Tact brings problems to the surface because stable rhythms, capacities, consistent workflows, and workflows with continuity occur. It shows what should be done, tact, and stops trying to project or guess what will be done, CPM. If you want to know you are off course, you have to know the correct course. If you simply compare your course with another possible course, then it becomes a matter of opinion. Only tact maps out a scientific flow for the project through simulation. It shows the most ideal synchronous flow for all sequences working together. When a work step within a work package does not meet that production rhythm, the team sees it as a deviation immediately and is able to correct it immediately with the smallest amount of latency or time delay. When problems show up in CPM, it is seen as a deviation to the current path only. Therefore, teams simply make another path by adjusting logic in a silo, then another one, and another one, and another one, until the only remaining options result in a crash landing. To see a problem, you need the following things. Number 1, know the target. Number 2, see the deviation where it is. Number 3, see the deviation and what it affects. And number 4, see the deviation within 5 to 48 hours of occurrence. Only Tact does the following. Number 1, you can see the target clearly on a single page schedule. Number 2, each Tact wagon with its work packages and work steps are tracked daily so you can see any deviations. Number 3, the Tact trains move with the deviations so you can see what happens to the system to maintain flow. And number 4, you are able to see this real time without waiting 2 weeks to update a schedule and hit F9 or run the forward and backward pass in CPM. So here's the genius of Tact. It is visual, and other scheduling systems are not yet on the long term. Remember the analogy of the long sword and short sword combat? We need a long sword strategy that is visual, and that is Tact. Tact, again, is a great communication tool for the project team to see what needs to be done and when. If we can all see that, we can make decisions and collaborate with common knowledge and therefore act or head in the same direction together. And as Patrick Lencioni quoted in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, if you could get all the people in an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry and any market against any competition at any time. This is what tact planning does for us. Tact, along with Scrum and Last Planner, help us to move in the same direction by allowing us to see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. Seeing the plan is powerful. This is the main reason Tact is better for the team. The fact that tact planning and tact control brings problems to the surface faster in a visible way is the very reason it is better for the team. The team is able to see and fix problems as they go instead of responding to massive issues when it is or is almost too late. This increases capacity by reducing the load on the team in dealing with massive issues too late. Additionally, it improves morale. When the team feels helpless in overcoming or getting ahead of issues, the enjoyment and fulfillment is reduced on the project, which decreases the productivity of the team. Also, tact planning and tact control are easier systems to manage. It takes about 1/12 of the time to manage a project as in Tact as with CPM. You can always tell the difference between a non-tact project weekly work planning meeting and daily huddle meeting and a tact-centered meeting system. In the non-tact system, the team will be focused on when things should be happening and coordinating trades together within the week or day. And in a tact-centered system, the team already knows when things should be happening, and then they focus on making work ready and removing roadblocks. And the more work is made ready, the fewer problems there are to deal with. The truth is, when project teams use CPM paired with Last Planner, the team spends most of the time managing the schedule instead of making work ready. And when projects exceed $60 million, the complexity of creating weekly work plans from scratch becomes too burdensome for the entire team, and the system breaks down and causes more harm than good. The only real way to create increased capacity for the team with scheduling is to implement tact planning and tact control and manage the deviations, not just the schedule. The bottom line is that project teams must be balanced. They cannot be spending increased amounts of time managing a schedule, and they need to have the capacity to prevent problems that will further reduce their capacity. This is the second major genius of the system. Once understood and created, it is easy to use. Okay, everybody, I hope this was helpful. We're going to cover Tact Works Because, which is a really great system and a really great section. It has the production laws in it, so I hope that you're excited for this tomorrow. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing,